Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cricket Unplugged with the wonderful Bharat Army. I have with me Dia from Haryana, Naresh from Pune, and we'll be soon joined by Gurpreet. The series is locked 1-all with the third test to begin on Thursday in Sydney. It's going to be a very interesting match, hopefully. And we got to discuss with our interesting panel as to what squad India is going to bring in. So let me first start with Naresh. How excited are you for the third test match beginning in Sydney?
Very much. Anish. With the way we have come back in Melbourne, I think the best gift we could get for New Year's after a tough year. Very optimist for the New Year test, as it is called in Sydney. And I think the entire squad will be charged up, especially with Sydney. We don't have a win in Sydney in the last decade, but we did very well in the last tour, though it got rained out in the end. Yes, this time also some rain expected, but we'll see how it goes. But Indian team will be very optimist on it being a batting track the way it played the last time, especially Pujara and Pant getting the big 100. So and with Rohit coming back, he's been named the vice captain, so he has to be in the 11. Looking forward to a good game of cricket, which could last for 5 days.
So Dia, how has been the new year for you? 2021 in Haryana, quite cold?
Yeah, it's actually very cold over here, but that's like we have got used to it now, being living here since like 20 years. So and as we know, our team is there in Australia, and we saw a little bit of trouble with them with that hotel thing that happened, and then the Brisbane saga that is happening right now. Although even after all of that, the team is there in Sydney right now, and the full squad is going to be there available for selection. So I'm really excited to see what kind of team combination we are going to go with. And along with that, it's going to be a New Year test match and the pink test match, as they say, a very great initiative by Cricket Australia. So it's going to be a very interesting match, and it's going to be a good batting surface, and something where somewhere we as the Indian batsmen enjoy a lot. We have been seeing that a lot of batsmen like Pujara haven't been able to get that big scores. So this can be a good opportunity for them to score big and get some runs in their bank. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Naresh, like you mentioned in your earlier discussion, India came quite close beating to Australia last time when they were in Sydney, and the rain actually played a spoil sport. I can't even remember whether India has won a test match. My memory, if you can correct me, have we won a test match in Sydney?
No, it's been long. No, that's what, if you see the last
We have one match we have won.
Oh, that's good.
In 1978, actually, by an innings. So yeah, just one.
So many of them would have not been even born who are in the squad now. So
all right.
Yeah.
So with Sydney, you are optimistic. Generally, they say that Sydney helps the spinners. That's been the track record of Australia. Do you think Australia will lay out a green track, or will they keep the good batting track and give the spinners to come into play?
Yeah, it would be. I think it would play similar to MCG, where it would be good for the batsmen to set in and try to score big. At the same time, spinners, yes, they have Nathan Lyon, but I think India is done very well to get Jadeja in the side, because if you see, Jadeja and Ashwin have not played together overseas a lot of test matches. They have been an alternate to each other, but together, I think that was a very good move to get in, especially replacing Virat. So I think Jadeja and Ashwin will play a big role in this test, and definitely Ashwin fitness is doing good. So I think it's going to be good for both of them. They would play a major role in Sydney Test for sure.
All right, I'd like to welcome Gurkirat. Welcome, Gurkirat. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Sergeant. You look great.
Thank you very much. How is the cold of Delhi? Kitna temperature kya hai? Hame bataiye. We're all excited to know Delhi temperature.
Wearing 3 layers, so you can imagine.
2 degree, 3 degree, 4 degree. Kitna hai?
It is quite cold. The rain's also not helping it, so it becomes.
The rain is also not helping.
So it's becoming quite chilly, even if the temperature is not dipping that much, but the chill adds to it. So yeah, I'm sure Dia's also experiencing it in Haryana. It's not very different.
Not very different. Haryana and Delhi आसपास है. प्यार लगा हुआ है Haryana and Delhi.
Definitely.
Anyway, coming to Sydney Test match. How excited are you, Gurkirat?
Pretty excited, pretty excited. Like, with what has happened in the last 3 4 days, it's almost like it's S for Sydney and S for some saga or something else. In 2008, it was the Monkey Gate saga. This time, it's the Bubble Breach saga and whatnot. A lot has happened over the 3 4 days. In fact, the gap has been so big that it's almost feel like it's a new series. The last the last match day was 29th, and it's now going to be on the 7th Jan.
Dia, like Gurkirat was mentioning, there's a lot of saga. Like S for Sydney, S for saga. Anyway, we'll talk about the cricketing part here. Now, Sydney, as I was talking to Naresh, generally they say that it helps the spinners. And I remember there was a time when Australia used to play two spinners, Shane Warne, and there used to be other leggy. Now, do you think Australia will put out a proper wicket? When I say a proper test match wicket, when they say that after third day or the fourth day, the spinners come into play, or will they lay out a green track which will help their fast bowlers?
Well, if I see, I don't see, them put, because if we see their batting is so brittle right now that they cannot risk being, putting that green track, because, their batting is, our bowlers are also there who can pick up wickets. So they cannot risk that fact that, because their batting is also not doing that well. Steve Smith is not among the runs. So I think that it's going to be a proper batting surface where, there's going to be an equal opportunity for them also to get some runs. So putting a green track is not going to help them in any manner, because we have got Jasprit Bumrah, we have got Mohammad Siraj, and the third pacer, if he's going to do well, yet to be like a big suspense for now. So they definitely cannot risk that. And along with that, we know that, Steve Smith is not among the runs right now, and he must be raring to go and score some runs and get some runs under his belt. And Sydney being his home ground, I think that he can, be a game changer for them, and, score some good runs on that pitch. So yeah, it's going to be a good batting surface. And if we talk about the spinners, I think last time Kuldeep Yadav picked up 5 wickets over there in the Sydney Test. But I don't see. Of course, he's not going to. According to me, we can't play three spinners, even if it's going to be a batting track, or like, even if it's in Sydney. But yeah, Ravindra Jadeja and Ravichandran Ashwin are going to be really crucial for us, knowing that, like our pace attack is looking thoda weak as of now. Of course, they're going to do well when they're going to be bowling on that surface. But yeah, so now the more responsibility on the spinners only, that, how they're going to bowl in those conditions, and how they're going to, get wickets and contain the runs as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they also play.
Dia seems quite excited. Naresh, would you pick Kuldeep just an afterthought, or would you go with your fast bowler, and who would be that fast bowler?
Yeah, it won't be a third spinner. I don't think India will go with that unless Jadeja or Ashwin are unfit to be replaced. But that doesn't seem a possibility. The third seamer is going to be, as Dia said, it's going to be a mystery, purely because we saw in the first test Shami opening the bowling, and then Umesh opening the bowling in the second. So they are looking at someone who will share the new ball with Bumrah. And Saini, yes, he has the pace, but maybe the wicket may not suit him. Shardul Thakur looks like one of them, purely because of getting some swing early. And if you see all the three of them, Natarajan, Thakur and Saini, their domestic records, Thakur is way ahead on the number of wickets taken with red ball. So he becomes a preferred choice, and he helps a little bit in the deep as far as batting is concerned. So that could, because they're looking at the new ball sharing. Saini hasn't bowled with the new ball of late. Even in the white ball, he has been the first change. So with that's still going to be a mystery till probably the toss. Natarajan definitely will help in as a variation of left arm, but I don't think he's the first choice to share the new ball at this point of time. So Thakur stands, as the preferred choice.
Gurkirat, third spinner or the pacer you would like India to play in the third test match?
No, I'm with Naresh over here. I don't see India playing a third spinner. It's very rare that we play a third spinner at home also. So I don't think we're going to play that. Third pacer, like Naresh said, even though Natraj may add variety, I think he's definitely behind in the pecking order. As far as choice between Shardul and Saini is concerned, uh, Shardul definitely the more experienced one. I also think, he, like Siraj, he also doesn't get a lot of credit or appreciation because he doesn't have those white ball performances. But if anyone has noticed over the last year, his pace has gone up, and he's also, has had more control in white ball. So I'm fine with either one who plays, but I have a feeling that it might be Sani because of the extra pace he offers. And sometimes on a pitch where nothing is happening, say if you're bowling on the second day, second session, or third day or the second session, when nothing is happening, so that extra pace along with his height, because he's also the one of the tallest bowlers we have, so that might pip the odds in his favor. But I think it's a very marginal call. uh, Both of them have the capability to do well, and you really can't fault the team management for going with one and not going for the other. So could be anyone between Saini or Shardul. And going back to your previous question about the pitches, I don't think they're going to pick a green pitch, because like Dia said, it can actually put their batsmen in trouble as well. And let's not forget, it's although the last game we batted well and we bowled well, let's not forget that when you put a green pitch, what happens is uh, the the level in the quality in bowling becomes very marginal. Regardless of who plays, you have to agree that the Australian bowling attack is still much stronger than especially the pace bowling attack is still much stronger than India's bowling attack. So if they put out a green pitch, they are actually aiding India's fast bowlers and putting their batsmen in trouble. It's similar to how India won all their overseas test matches in the last decade, despite having a inferior bowling lineup. We won all our test matches on fast wickets, be it Perth, be it Durban 2010, be it Headingley 2002, Jamaica 2006. So I don't see that happening. That happens only when India tours New Zealand, because they know that their bowling attack becomes even more stronger on such pitches. I think it will be probably the Sydney track that we all of us are used to. There will be a little bit of help on the first day, and then it will become flatter as the match progresses, and then will start to break up come the fourth or the fifth day.
If we get time, we'll try and talk a little bit about New Zealand in this chat show. But Dia, as I was talking with Naresh and Gurkirat about the third pace bowler, Naresh is of the opinion that Shardul Thakur might get the nod. Gurkirat says he's okay with either of them. What would be your take? Who would you pick if you were Ajinkya Rahane or Ravi Shastri?
Well, I was actually vouching for Navdeep Saini, he being a hit the deck hard bowler who can, bowl very fast on that pitch. So he can, bowl well in those conditions. Again, Shardul Thakur can come handy with his swing, and he would have been a like for like replacement for Umesh Yadav with like providing that swing. But again, he has also played like one test match only. That also he could bowl, I guess, only one over, and when he got injured, and after that he couldn't play. So we cannot trust Shardul Thakur that much, according to me. And Navdeep Saini can be a better option. T. Natarajan, I think, although like it's wonderful that he has received a call up for the Test match, but I think. Again, he's a very great white ball player. He bowls great cutters, great yorkers, but uh, but this is a different ball game. So I don't see him making a debut. But on the other hand, Navdeep Saini, he has done pretty well in the warm up games as well. He has got two warm ups. He has done that. So I think that he can get a nod to play in the third Test match, and yeah, he should get a nod according to me.
Okay. So what I understand, Dia says Navdeep, Naresh says Shardul, Gurkirit, you still have to take a call. If you are the captain, who would you pick? You can't pick both, obviously.
I'll go with Navdeep. I'll go with Navdeep purely because he has the extra pace, not because I
I'll
think.
go with Shardul. So 2 versus 2. Anyway, we've got to wait and watch what think tank thinks about on the couple of days later. Okay, now very interesting. Rohit Sharma appointed the vice captain. Rohit Sharma, Naresh, does he straight comes and opens, replacing Agarwal, or we send Vihari up the order as we had done last year?
See, Rohit is probably the leading opening bat in white ball cricket, undoubtedly. Uh, he has played number 5 or 6 even in the last tour to Australia. He came back to India and opened for India, and probably overseas is what is left to open. I think this is the time to do it. So he'll come in as an opener. I don't see, and that's the only area that needs to be addressed is the stable opening pair. So if Rohit needs to come into the team, come in as an opener, and if he succeeds, your opening pair gets stabilized, considering Rohit and Gill can then take India for the next couple of years in place of Mayank. If we again try to move around with the batting order, I think we will be unnecessarily exposing further more limitations if there are any. So we should just stick to the number 1 and 2 to stabilize. And Rohit now being given the vice captaincy, he's a seasoned Indian player. So yeah, he needs to come in and open.
Gurkirat, Rohit Sharma opening the batting or middle order. What's your say?
No, he's been brought into the team as an opener. He should play as an opener, because if you're not opening with him and if you're moving Vihari up again, then or even dropping him, it's sort of unfair to Vihari. What I see happening is that Agarwal goes out, Rohit opens. The other thing that I'm not happy with is Rohit getting the vice captaincy. I think when it comes to Test cricket, both Ashwin and Pujara are senior players. They've probably have more experience of 30-40 Test matches more than Rohit. And if you're talking of Ashwin, he has the record for winning most Man of the Series awards. Pujara won you the Test series last time in Australia. So I think that was a harsh call, and it was something that the selectors should have avoided. Especially, you've won the last game, and Pujara was the vice captain, so there was no need to sort of make Rohit the vice captain. It sends out a wrong message. Apart from that, I think yeah, it's fine if he opens. Also, it's a pitch where he can do well. I genuinely hope if he's able to stick around for the first 10-15 overs, how he plays Nathan Lyon will become very crucial for India, because we all know how good a player he is of off spin bowling and spin bowling in general. So if he's able to, stay till for the first 10-15 overs and then take the attack to Nathan Lyon, it changes the whole dynamics, because then Nathan Lyon will not be allowed to bowl in a particular spot and in a particular rhythm. If his rhythm is disturbed, as what Mayank did last time around when he opened in Sydney and Melbourne, it really helps the Indian side or for any team that is playing Australia. So that will be the key.
Dia, where would you like Rohit to play?
Definitely, I always wanted him to open for India in Test matches as well, because he's a great test great. He has been doing great for us as as an opener in ODIs and T20. So why not give him a chance in the Test matches as well? He has averaged like 25 something in middle order in Test matches for India. And last time, I guess, in South Africa when we went in 2018, his performances were not that great. He was brought into the team instead of Ajinkya Rahane as well, and he couldn't do well. So I think he's made to play in the opening spot only, and he should get to open. I mean, in the last, although he played those matches in India, in the last 5 matches he has averaged like 92 and has got like 500 plus runs, 300s. So he has done so well as an opener for us. And I think the pitches that he has played on in India, that is going to be the same kind of a pitch that he's going to play in Sydney. So he should definitely get a chance to open. And the left arm pacer thing that comes in, that he has this weakness thing against the left arm pacers, and with that Mitchell Starc thing that is there, I don't think if we see he has been dismissed only once against all the Aussies pace attack, and has scored like 90 plus runs against them. And we see on the other hand against Nathan Lyon, he has been dismissed 5 times and he has got like 100 plus runs, although we know he can play him well, and the experience that he has gained right now, he can do pretty well. And knowing that Virat Kohli is also not there, so if I see some player of that stature, when like after Virat Kohli, it has to be Rohit Sharma. So it's going to be that psychological pressure on the Aussies as well, that now Virat Kohli is not there, Rohit Sharma is back into the attack and he can do the job as well. For like with Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane being there, Rohit Sharma also carries that kind of a stature for us. So it's going to be he should definitely get to open. And Vihari, on the other hand, I think he's suited for that middle order role only because if we see his batting, he knows, to absorb. He plays in that manner that he absorbs the pressure, and he takes his time, and he has been doing great for us, pretty decent for us, and it will be really harsh if he doesn't get to play the next match in Sydney, because according to me, although Mayank Agarwal also. I mean, there's actually so much of confusion, like which player should go out, because Mayank Agarwal, on the other hand, if you're gonna, if he's not gonna play, but he has been like one of the best test openers for us in the last 2 years. I mean, 11 innings, 1,000+ runs. He has been doing great, and 2 test matches cannot decide that he's gonna be dropped. But it's his technique and his that is not allowing him to get the best out of him. Although he got 70+ runs in the last time when he played in Sydney. But again, I think, he should be dropped, and Shubman and Rohit should open, and Vihari should be there. Last time also in MCG, he did pretty well. And again, he got 100 in a warm-up game as well. So yeah, he should be definitely retained and given a chance, and Rohit should open.
So all three of you all agree Rohit should play and open. That's what I understand. Lovely.
Yeah.
Now, Gurkirat was mentioning about Rohit being appointed as the vice captain. But coming to Pujara, Naresh, what is Pujara doing this time, which is leading to his downfall? Rather, 4 cheap dismissals for Pujara. What do you think he needs to correct?
See, from the technique perspective, he's the best judge to correct that immediately, because he's just a very high quality batsman in that number 3. I think he's coming too early to bat. That's the unfortunate part. The openers have not given that kind of a start where Pujara comes in, say, about 50, 60 runs on the board. That is adding up to the pressure, and he's trying to be defensive to play out time and the new ball, which is causing his downfall. So to be fair to him, I think, and that's where we all have been speaking about Rohit Sharma. If Rohit Sharma clicks and we get a good start, we may see a much more confident Pujara coming in, say, after the first break or something, when the ball is about 15, 20 overs old. So we need to, give that fact some weightage, that Pujara has been coming too early, at least in this series.
Gurkirat, Naresh says that if Pujara comes around after 12, 15 overs, he probably will be able to settle down and will not have that pressure. Your call, what's hampering Pujara this year around?
I don't think he's had 4 soft dismissals. 4 soft dismissals. I think in Adelaide in the first innings he played well. He sort of played 130 balls for his 43. That was good. But the second innings everyone got a Jaffa, so you can't complain much. As far as the last test is concerned, I just think that Australia this time has prepared well for him, because the manner of dismissals are pretty much same, and it's something that he's struggled over the years, where the ball on the around the 3rd or the 4th stump leaving him, he's always found that somehow managed to found that edge. And credit to Pat Cummins, who's been so consistent with that line in length. And you could see in the second innings he was itching to be a little aggressive, but played at a wide one, which he normally doesn't even attempt to go for. So I think it's nothing but I won't even call it a patch. I just say that it's 2 or 3 sort of dismissals that he needs to look past. And come Sydney, it's going to be a fresh day, fresh test match. He has to start the process again, and I think he'll still do well, because if you saw him how he batted in the first innings in Adelaide, he left the ball extremely well. It was just that it was a lazy dismissal against Nathan Lyon. I'll just say that, because generally he uses the feet very well against spinners. Last time around he did it as well, because he also, like Rahane, goes deep back into the crease or comes forward and plays it along the ground. So I just feel if he's able to bat out 50-60 balls like he did last time, he'll do well. I have no doubts on his ability.
Gurkirat says he needs to bat out 50-60 balls. Naresh says he needs to come in a little late. Dia, what Pujara has to do?
Well, according to me, as everyone has mentioned, that he did so well last time in Australia, but now the Australians have prepared well against him. the line and lens the Pat Cummins has been bowling have been wonderful. And yeah, they have got their plan. And now what he needs to do is just counter attack them. And although always we have been saying that he should just bat and just bat actually and play the balls, and then he's going to get some runs. And maybe this time maybe he can try a little bit aggressive approach and try to attack the bowlers, and maybe that can get a little bit confidence. Maybe I know that's not his kind of a play, but yeah, maybe a little bit change can get the best out of him. And maybe he can dominate the attack in that manner. That he can do according to me. And again, I don't see, to be honest, any faults in his techniques. And again, he has been getting out outside the off stump. So yeah, just bat and bat and bat. According to me, that has to be there. And he's a great. He's like he has been doing great for us. Last time also he got 192, 93 in Sydney only. So that also will be there in his mind that he has done last time in the SCG match. So yeah, that will also be there. So he will do great this time too.
So 3 different opinions. Dia wants Pujara to attack. Naresh wants Pujara to come a little late so that he gets a little bit time. And Gurkirat feels that probably, what did you say, Gurkirat? I am not able to recollect. You just mentioned something, it just slipped my mind.
With a player like, so a lot of people discuss as to what positive intent is. I for one feel there's one of the most ambiguous things in Test cricket, because intent means different for different players. For a opener, good intent could mean leaving balls well outside the off stump, and the ones that are going just above the stumps. Murli Vijay was a classic example of that. You can see that with Dean Elgar as well. The more confidently they are able to leave out deliveries, the more confident that they become, and that is intent for them. For somebody like Pujara, it's just about staying there and playing as many balls as he can. Once he's past the 50-60 ball mark, the runs start to flow for him. It's not an issue. So if he's able to do that, and you also have to give credit to Australia how they've bowled out to him. They've just bowled that nagging length in the corridor of uncertainty, where the ball has tended to come in with the angle but left him. So most of the times, most batsmen will end up edging those deliveries. You really can't fault the batsman that much for that. So I don't think it's an issue. It's just that he needs to play 50-60 balls and he'll be all right.
Brilliant. We spoke about Sharma. We spoke about Pujara. Obviously, I would like to talk about Pant. I remember his last knock was brisk knock of around 30 odd runs, quickly made. Now, Naresh, would you want rather Pant to play the same sort of style, or just get settled and play a long innings, or play the Gilchrist style?
No, similar to Pujara, he's going to a ground where he has accomplished 150 plus last time in Sydney. So I'm sure Pujara and Pant would be going with that frame of mind that they have had big scores the last time around. And Pant needs to play the game which he plays the best. So yeah, not to take the risk, but at the same time, he's the one, once on the pitch, he'll keep the scoreboard moving. So he needs to keep that on, especially the last one. Probably, we can say he could have left that ball the way he got caught behind. But he's the one who can get big scores in Sydney. He has done it before, so that is what will be expected from him if the situation warrants that. If the top order is not done that well, it would be on especially Pant and Jadeja to showcase some good talent to score big.
Gurkirat, if you were the captain, what message would you give to Pant to go all out like Gilchrist, or as Naresh said that he shouldn't have played that shot of Stark and got nicked? No risk, no gain for Pant.
Play exactly the way he did the last time. That was an unfortunate dismissal, but if anybody saw how he was batting, right up till the time Hanuma Vihari got out, Pat Cummins looked like a bowling machine. I mean, the amount of runs he gave in his first spell, which was 8 runs out of 8 overs, Pant took 8 runs out of his 1 over, another 10 runs. So you could see things were happening when he was on the field. Australia had started to panic a little. They had spread the fields, And even somebody like Nathan Lyon, who's so good against left-handers, he was also a little bit of under pressure the way he knew, because his bad balls will be attacked. So I think there's no need to tell him anything. Just tell him to play the way he wants to, and the way he plays best, because there was no apparent discomfort in his batting, or the way he was batting. He was very confident facing Pat Cummins. He was very confident facing Nathan Lyon. It's just that the ball against, I just think that the ball bounced a little more against Mitchell Stark, and that took the edge. So also, another thing that you have to factor in is that amongst the four bowlers that Australia have, the four frontline bowlers, Mitch Stark is the one who's more likely to give you freebies and give you runs, because he's a little erratic. So he tried to take that chance. It didn't come off, but that will happen with a high risk, high approach game. There will be times when it will not come off, and the days it will come off, it will look very great, like how it used to look again with Adam Gilchrist. So just play the way he did in the last game, and I think that will be good enough.
Dia, with Pant, are you fine he taking the attack to the opposition and getting out cheaply, or probably the other way? If he gets going, it's good for India. What would you want him to do?
Well, he's that kind of a player who can counter punch the opposition, because we have got those players who are technically very good with their batting, who can just hold on and just bat for a long time. And on the other hand, we need a player like Pant, especially a left-hander in our team, who can trouble the bowlers with their line and lengths, and he can just bat freely, because that's what he's known for. And there can be two case scenarios in this as well. One can be that we are not in that good of a condition where we need him to be there and bat, like that was the case the last time in 2018 in England, when he batted for a long time in the last test match, and he scored good runs. And again, if we are in a very good position where Ajinkya Rahane or maybe Pujara is there, they're batting well, and then he can come in and counter attack the opposition and get some runs. That will be great, because that's what his style of play is. And he just has to be, because if you show intent, then you will be fortunate enough to get those runs, and maybe a few edges might end up being fours, or like he can score runs out of them as well. So if he's going to show intent, and if he's going to counter attack the opposition, he will do great. And he should definitely play the way he is playing, and not think that he has to just hold and bat not score runs, because that's also very important to keep the scoreboard ticking. So he's that kind of a player who can do that job for us. So
Gurkirat wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. I don't think there's a technical issue. There's an issue of technique with Rishabh Pant. It's just that he likes to score at a faster rate.
I didn't mean that.
No, I know you didn't mean that, but there's a perception, because he plays T20, that his technique is an issue. That's what I said when I was speaking the first time. When he played Pat Cummins, it didn't look like that he was in any apparent discomfort. So I don't think it's an issue of technique. I think if required, he can also play the waiting game. Just probably needs to develop that temperament a little bit. But it's not an issue of technique at all. I just feel that.
Anyway, lovely guys. It's been fun talking to all of you, and I want a little bit of banter also. There has to be difference of opinion. We can't all have the same opinion. We are four different minds, and I just love talking to you all. All of you all guys speak such good cricket and talk sense. Maybe even the guys who have played cricket would be proud of you all. Trust me. Anyway, coming now to Naresh. We spoke about the Indian batting. It seems to be fine on paper. Everything seems to be rosy as of today, and hopefully it will be on Thursday. Australian batting. Should I just take it for granted? Bumrah comes, takes the first wicket. I think it will be Warner versus.
Warner comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, and Will Puwasky. How do we pronounce that name?
Puwasky.
जो भी है तो ये दोनों के विकेट बुमराह उड़ा लेगा.
Yeah, see, Warner
both are
and
left-handers, right?
Yeah,
Warner is a right-hander.
I think Puwasky is a right-hander, Warner left-hander. But Warner and Rohit Sharma, two big names in world cricket, coming back into Test squad after a long break for both of them. So it's agreed. Warner is going to play at home, and his record is much better in Test cricket. But I think Bumrah would definitely trouble Warner also. Puwasky is, I think, new for Indian bowlers. Matthew Wade was like a makeshift opener, and that's what's surprising, because if you just saw a couple of days back in Big Bash during the rain break, there was an interview of Usman Khwaja. I think, there was a bit of a selection dilemma in Australia also with the batting lineup. Khwaja has opened for Australia, but anyways, they are looking ahead. So a new pair for Australia if Pawasky and Warner open. So I think Bumrah would be definitely threatening for them too. And then yes, Smith needs to make a mark. He's playing at home. He has not got a big score. Even Labuschagne has just got a couple of 40s. Number 5 is a problem for them too. Travis Head has been playing at number 5, but not having a big score. So Australia have a similar problem, and that's why I say our problem actually is number 1 and 2, whereas Australia needs their 3, 4, 5 to click.
Gurkirat, with Warner coming back, obviously playing at home ground, has a solid record in Australia. Would you back the openers to do well with this youngster also coming?
Against India, you always have to back the debutant. I mean, it's such a voodoo thing, or I don't know what it is, but yeah. Again, I've heard a lot and I've read a lot about Pukosvi, and he seems to be a bright prospect, but we'll have to see how it turns out. Uh, Another thing is with David Warner and Pukosvi is now David Warner has a brilliant record in Sydney. He's had some 3 or 4 hundreds, but most of the times he's not faced Ravichandran Ashwin in Sydney. So if Warner starts to get going, or if he's around by the time the 10th over comes in, I'll not hesitate to bring in Ravichandran Ashwin. Uh, Ravichandran Ashwin has a good record against left-handers particularly, and against David Warner as well. He's done well in India, so he'll be looking to make a mark again. And with regards to what Naresh mentioned about Usman Khwaja, I genuinely think that most of the sides in world cricket would have taken somebody like an Usman Khwaja in their 11 straight up. I have no idea why he keeps getting dropped, because he's done well in the past and he's one of the few players in the Australian lineup who plays spin really well. In UAE, when Australia toured UAE and faced Pakistan, he scored a brilliant 100 on fifth day. So he definitely has that quality, but I just don't know why he doesn't get picked. So
Good
yeah,
for India.
It's good for all teams that play Australia that Usman Khwaja is not there, because he would have genuinely done a better job than what Joe Burns has done. So yeah, and I see I see
Green.
Chris Green will be there because he's the fifth bowler. I see Matthew Wade getting dropped for this test match, and they will give Travis Head another game. If he doesn't fire, then probably they'll bring in Matthew Wade back in Gabba, because Australia genuinely are under the pressure are under pressure right now, because they know that the runs are not coming, and they genuinely need Steve Smith to fire. If not fire and score a big daddy 100, they genuinely need him to stay around for 100 balls, so that the other batsmen in the batting lineup gain some confidence out of it, because right now they do feel down on confidence.
Yeah, with Warner coming in, generally they say is that he's quick running between the wickets. He scores quickly. So far, what India bowlers have done is that they've strangled the openers. They've not allowed them to get free. After 10 overs, they are 20, or even after 20 overs, they are 40. So that has not hurt India. But with Warner coming back, and if he gets in his groove, that might put the pressure on Indian bowlers. And as Gurkirat mentioned, that if Warner gets going, you might be forced to get Ashwin. Like the 10th over has become a benchmark for Ashwin to come in. Uh, how would you counter Warner? Like if Bumrah is not able to get through him, or the other opening bowler, is it Ashwin the answer?
Well, definitely, as Gurkirat has also mentioned that Ravichandran Ashwin has been doing great against the left-handed batsmen. Again, that has to be the key if our pace bowlers are not able to do the job. And on the other hand, David Warner has one of the greatest records against India. To be very honest, he hasn't done that well. He hasn't got that big hundreds against us in Australia too. He hasn't done that well in India as well. So I think that will also be there in his mind, that he has to score runs, and that will be interesting to see. He's coming after such a long break, so how he performs, he also will take time to get in his groove. So we have to take advantage of that situation, and just get him out as quickly as we can, because we know that earlier Joe Burns was there and he wasn't able to do that well. and we were very happy that we were able to make the openers out cheaply. But now that is not the case, because now they have got David Warner, and yeah, if the Jasprit Bumrah has to take the role for that, and if not him, it has to be Ravichandran Ashwin, because yeah, he has done great against the left-hand batsman. That has to be the key. And on the other hand, Will Pukoski will also be a great threat can be a great threat to us. He can pose a great threat to us. His first-class records are wonderful. He has got 2 consecutive double hundreds. So yeah, he is also coming in a great touch. So that will be interesting how what kind of plannings we have, the Indian Pacers have done against him. And according to me, as Gurkirat mentioned, that Matthew Wade should be dropped. I don't see him getting dropped. Instead, I feel that Matthew Wade should be pushed down the order, and Travis Head should be dropped, because Matthew Wade has been he has looked very solid while batting. It's just that he hasn't been able to convert his starts into a big score, but his batting has looked good. He has looked in a good touch, so he should be retained and he should be pushed down the order. And Travis Head, on the other hand, I think I see him getting dropped, and yeah, that can actually make the Australian batting a bit solid earlier, which is it was not. And again, Steve Smith also has to get some runs, because again, as I've mentioned too, that Sydney is going to be his home ground, and last time, although it was ODI, he got a great 100 or two hundreds over there in this series only. So we see that that can happen again too in Sydney in the test matches. So yeah, again, we have to get him out cheaply too. As an Indian fan, of course, we want him to get out. So yeah.
So Dia says Steve Smith, we have to get him out cheaply. He scored 2 back-to-back hundreds in the ODI. So is it Ashwin to Steve Smith, caught first slip, caught leg side? Naresh?
Ashwin coming early, we was talking about the 10th over. The benefit is the bounce he gets, and definitely that's where he'll come into play. And as you had a question on what is the message for Pant, that is the time you speak to Pant, that when Ashwin has got in the 10th over to Warner or a Smith, you better take the catches coming in. So
I thought you would say banter more.
Oh, that you don't need to give that feedback to him. He will still do it. So, but yeah, the edges, especially we have seen Pant is a bit jittery with the up the stumps against the spinners. So I think that is where he needs to be watchful. But yeah, Ashwin coming early, ball a little bit harder. The bounce will definitely be in his benefit. Whether it is Warner or Smith, I think Ashwin will be in the game right away.
All right. Gurkirat, before we wind up the show, in the first match, you said if Australia wins the toss, we'll be over in 2.5 days. It was the reverse. India won the toss. India were taken off in 2.5 days. In the second test match, you mentioned if Australia win the toss,
match is over.
It's going to be tough for India.
Yeah,
India lost the toss, and so now what would you want?
I'd still want India to win the toss. I like I said last time, in test matches you win the toss 9 times, you bat, and the 10th time you think again and you bat again. So I would hope that India win the toss, because let's not forget that last time also we won the toss, we posted 600 odd on the board. If we go back, we'll have to go back some 15 16 years. In 2004 also, when we won the toss and we batted first, we scored our highest ever outside of India, 700 runs, when Sachin scored that 240. So if you win, India, any side that wins the toss, will look to bat first. I hope it's India, because genuinely it gives our batsmen a little more breathing space, because you don't want to be in a situation where the other team has batted first. You've been there on the field for 4 sessions, and then you have that pressure of scoring 300, 350 or 400 runs. I hope it's below 300 if we are bowling first, but I genuinely hope India win the toss. Another thing that I left out on adding last time was, like the previous time I was speaking, Pukosvi, before making his debut, he's had 6 or 7 concussion issues. He's been hit on the head a lot of times. So it will be very interesting to see how the Indian fast bowlers go about it, because he got concussed in the first warm up game, and I think he was hit by Bumrah only. So it will be very interesting to see how short do Indian bowlers bowl to him, and just when they're, and how they mix it up as well, because if they are going to just keep going short, then it is possible that he might keep ducking it in. But I actually see Bumrah, planning a similar dismissal like how he did for Travis Head in the first innings with Will Pucosby, pushing him back, and then bowling an in-between length and getting him caught at slips. This is something that I can visualize happening. Just wanted to leave it out there.
Dia win the toss, bat first.
In the last two test matches, we saw that we have like the team that loses the toss wins the match. But this time around, I think that India should win the toss. And every time it's not going to happen that Australia is going to win the toss and they're going to bat and get bundle out for 195. Although it has happened, but still, every time it's not going to happen. The pitch is going to be very different this time. So again, I think that India should win the toss again. Like last time it happened, we scored 600 plus runs, and our batsmen got so many runs. So again, if we're gonna bat, and I think Harsha Bhogle also mentioned that 300 has become that benchmark for us, where if we're gonna get 300 plus, maybe 300, our bowlers have that capability that they can bowl out the opposition. So they need that scoreboard, so they need that score, our bowlers, so that they can bowl in those good areas to get the batsmen out. So according to me, it has to be that the batsmen just post 300 plus, and the bowlers will definitely do the job for us like last time they did. So again, win the toss, bat, and we can win the match, and we can retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy.
Dia says win the toss, score 300 runs, and retain the Border Gavaskar. Is that easy, Naresh?
So definitely win the toss and bat first, and most important, play out the first day. You really take the advantage if you have played out, and that's where, though India played out the first day in Adelaide, the top 5 batsmen were not there to start the day 2, whereas the other way around in Melbourne, India got the advantage of bowling out Australia on day 1. So that becomes a big point, to have a kind of a just leading the test match session by session is when you play out the entire first day if you win the toss and bat. That is what India should do, win the toss and bat. Definitely we anticipate weather playing a role in first couple of days, but no looking at that thing, and just win the toss and bat.
Quickly, Gurkirat, third test match, India or Australia?
I'd say a draw, considering the weather prediction, weather forecast.
Is it so bad, the weather? I haven't gone through. Is it too bad the first 2 days?
It has quite a few spells of rain, so you don't. I mean, it's difficult to say how bad it could be, because there are chances of thunderstorm on one day, and then there are light showers here and there. So I'd say a draw.
All right, Dia, India, Australia.
Well, keeping the World Test Championship points percentage, to be honest, in mind, I want India to win. A draw won't do the job for us, so we have to win the Test match and get our record better in the SCG ground as well, because we have won just one match. So yeah, we need to better our record there as well, win the match and retain the trophy, and also get good points for to reach maybe Lords for the World Test Championship. So yeah,
Naresh?
Win for India.
You know how the first 2 tests have gone. You need actually a 3.5 days to finish off. So even if it rains one full day, 4 sessions, I still feel there's a result, and it will be in India's favor.
So Gurkirat says draw. Dia says she wants to win because of the World Championship.
Yeah.
And Naresh says India's going to win the match. So simple.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And that's more for history to be created by Ajinkya Rahane. It's all
Right.
going in his favor. Yeah.
So I just mentioned before that we talk about New Zealand. Just quickly before we wrap up the show. Gurkirat, ये विलियमसन क्या खा कर आता है बैटिंग करने के लिए?
This is like I was reading something on Twitter that day, and it just said कि हर रोज सुबह उठो and Williamson ने 100 करी होती है because of the time zone. So without a doubt, this is his peak, and this is his peak form. But I think it's a little unfortunate that New Zealand are not playing a lot of away test matches. In the last 5 years, they've won only one test series outside of New Zealand, which was in UAE, and drawn one against Sri Lanka. They lost badly in India when they came. They have lost in Australia. They've lost in South Africa also. So they need to travel more, because that will not only create a legacy of Kane Williamson, but that might also create a legacy for the New Zealand side, which is, I feel, it's probably one of the best sides that they have ever put on the park, because Kyle Jamieson is their 4th pacer, and he's been, I think he's been better than the likes of Darryl Tuffy, even Chris Martin to some extent. So if they really want to create a legacy, the New Zealand team, they have to somehow work out and travel more overseas. Yeah.
Okay, they have not been stopped to travel. It's just the COVID restrictions. Nonetheless, Dia Williamson,
Over they're
number
only
one.
playing. They're playing only 4 Test matches this year. So
All right,
one is
Dia,
this and 3 more.
no issues. Dia, ये क्या कर दिया विलियमसन ने?
Mhm.
सबको पीछे छोड़ दिया.
Definitely, now he is the number one ranked Test batsman as well. He has left behind, like we use that term, na Bradman's queue. So he has been that kind of a batsman for New Zealand. And yeah, again his fourth double hundred, I guess, in Test matches. And today, like day three, we say that in New Zealand the ball moves a little bit, but it has been raining runs over there because the way he batted, the way Nicholas also batted, he also got a ton. So it's good to see that the way Kane Williamson is leading his team, somewhat like what Virat Kohli does. He shows the team that this is how you have to score runs. So this is what Kane Williamson is doing. He has been a great captain for them and is like leading them in the best way possible. So it's good to see that how New Zealand are playing right now. They are in a contention to reach the Lords as well for the World Test Championship. Although as Indian fans we would not want that, to reach them in there because that might rule our possibility to reach in the finals. But again, they have been doing great. Again, it's very important that they should get to play more overseas Test matches as well, as Gurkirat has mentioned. So yeah, if they'll get more chances to play overseas, that's where they will be tested more. And yeah, I think they need to gain more popularity as well, because I think that New Zealand, the country also, they support rugby. Like rugby as a sport is more popular over there rather than cricket. So I think that the kind of uh, game that they have been putting up, it's very important that their fans should also support them. That will motivate them even more to play even more and a better knocks, and put up great performances. So yeah, that is also there. But yeah, Kane Williamson has been in a great touch, whether it's IPL and now in Test cricket too.
Just to add on the popularity bit, I think the New Zealand cricket team is the first team that has become more popular after losing a World Cup than a lot of teams become popular after winning. So they have enough popularity. I don't think it's, and as far as the popularity within the country is concerned, I don't think that the England cricket team is still as popular as the England football team. I think that's a culture that has been there for years. So I don't see changing that much. I think that's the case with South Africa as well. But yes, without a doubt they need to travel a lot more, because it will also, we'll get to see some good test matches featuring New Zealand outside of New Zealand, because when New Zealand are playing at home, I was just reading some stat, the difference between the batting averages of the home team
Opposition.
and the opposition is some 15-16 runs. That's a huge margin. Only India has done better than that, because the bowling averages of Indian bowlers when the teams are touring is some 23. The bowling averages of New Zealand bowlers when the teams are touring is some 24, and consequently the batting averages are some 39 and 38. So the difference is so huge. So that is why to actually test the New Zealand side, we need to see how well do they travel abroad.
Naresh, lastly to you, Williamson,
Yeah, I
क्या
mean,
कहना चाहोगे?
he's a class apart, no doubt. But yeah, if we have to take that logic, he's recently become a father and is scoring tons. England, watch out for Virat then, when they come to India. So I think it's due. Virat's double hundred is due. And yes, pressure on Smith for the Sydney Test, because Williamson is just setting a different benchmark playing at home.
So another pressure.
Yeah, so
Ashwin
there's
का तो
this,
है,
yeah,
Williamson
yeah.
का भी है.
Yeah, so
Dia wants to say something.
No, no.
Okay,
It's,
good. Lovely chat show with all of you guys. Once again, the new year, we hope that 7th of January starts well. I hope that India loses the toss. Generally, I know when you win tosses, you want to bat first, you have two spinners, and if you go to the 4th and 5th day. But the first day for the team batting first is going to be testing. Got to see who is going to bat first. Time will say that. But we hope we can all smile when we do the post match
oh yes,
of the test match, and I hope not in 2.5 days. We got to see a
we
good
want to
test
see,
match.
yeah. New Zealand did that against Pakistan, a complete 5-day test. We want to see that. Yeah.
you want to see some runs. I mean, it's been long that I have seen. I remember in the past decade there used to be test matches that team batting first has scored 450, 500, team batting second has scored 350, 400, and then the match would eventually go into the fifth day. Because what is happening this decade is because the level of fast bowling has gone up for all teams. That you know 300 in the first innings is actually becoming a winning score in a lot of conditions. So you genuinely want to see a test match that, where the team batting first is scoring some 400 odd, then the team batting second is scoring 350, 370, and then the game is progressing like that. It's been some time since I watched a 5-day test match. So let's hope it is that.
So both of y'all have said India win. Gurkirat said draw. If I have to give, I'll say Australia win. I hope I'm proved wrong, and either all three of you all are proved right. Okay. Good luck, guys. We catch you
Thanks,
soon.
thanks.
Wonderful once again to talk to all of you all. Take care.
Yeah,
Stay
thank you.
good.